You might have heard me refer to this earlier, but until we convert our trees to game objects, they will not show up in the GSPro game itself. So if we were to build our course now and import it into GSPro, there'd be no trees because they haven't been converted to game objects. So let me show you how to do that. Um, First of all, and this hole isn't done by any means, and I'm assuming yours is closer to done. I First of all, I wouldn't do this until you are absolutely ready to build your course, which we'll cover later on, and get it ready for game. There's nothing wrong with leaving the trees for now inside here because you can edit them, you can delete them, right, and do other things. And I would wait until the very last moment to convert them to game objects. Okay, but you know that there are no game objects because over here on the left, I don't see anything. You'll see a new directory created. So it's really easy to do this. There is a tool call up here under Tools, Tree Replacer V2. And then all I do is I select my terrain that I have, and that's going to be my foliage. I'm going to put that on there, and I'm going to do convert to objects. And at that point, what happens is I get a new directory here, down here at the bottom, and if I expand that, you'll see that all the trees that I created using my Unity paint tools are now shown here. And if I just clicked, and you can see that they get highlighted up there. Let me close this window. And now technically I can go in and I could take this tree and I can move it, right? I could move this tree. One thing you have to be aware though now is that we are double drawing our trees. So I can show you this in a couple different ways. One is, let me highlight this tree because it's a game object now. I can click on it. And if I move it, watch closely, there's still the exact same tree right there. I'm going to Control Z, move that back. So I'm rendering two trees. The reason that's happening is because if I go back here to my foliage, and you remember in our theory, we are still drawing our trees. So we're drawing our trees on our foliage terrain through the Unity tool, and we have the game objects now that we extracted. So if I do this, I've now turned off the extra set of trees. So if I go back to this tree now, and I were to go up here and I move it, there's no tree left behind. So that's really important. So let me show you what that does to performance. So here's a classic example of where we have to be careful performance-wise. So let me go back into my foliage terrain. Let me turn on my draw again. So now I'm double rendering my trees. And let me come up here and go into game mode. Sorry, I have a bunch of tools that float over top that you can't see. I'm going to turn on game mode, and I am operating at about 130 frames per second. Okay. Now, if I go in here, I'm in my foliage terrain. If I turn off draw, what happens? I immediately get a performance increase of about 30 to 40 frames per second. I'm almost up to 170. I'm touching 170. Let me turn those back on. Now I'm up in the high 120s, low 130s. Back off, I'm up to high 160s, low 170s. So you can see that there's a huge performance impact because I'm double rendering my trees, right? And also keep in mind here, remember what we talked about, if I change anything in the game mode, it reverts again. So I changed that and I had draw on, but in game mode, that would revert if I had made any changes. So just keep that in mind. So I'm gonna turn draw off, and now I just have my game object trees, my trees generated. Now let's say that you want to make some changes now to your trees. You could do it through the game, the trees generated here are game objects, but the better practice would be just to come up here to the tools, tree replacer, clear those generated trees, come back into our foliage, okay, turn on draw again, and then make your edits here. So whether it's deleting a particular tree, so let's say that we wanted to delete a couple of these broadleafs over here. Just change my brush a little bit. I'm going to shift, and I would want to delete those trees. Then I would come back up here again to my tools, tree replacer, come up here to my foliage, put that up there, convert to objects. There again. Now I've got my game objects. Oh, accidentally planted a tree way up there. I'll deal with that. There we go. And then don't forget, we want to turn off our draw for our foliage train so we're not double rendering. All right, good deal. Next video.